Hey friends, Drew here, Kennett Square, Pennsylvania, December 9th, 2014, getting close to the end of the year. This is going to be a personal development training video. It's going to be a little bit longer than most of my others, but I think you're going to appreciate the content that we're going to bring you today. Thinking about life and how we go through life, and some of the shifts that happen as we figure out who we are and what we're all about. You know, when you're a teenager, and you guys know Tracy and I've worked with teenagers for a long time now. You kind of get the sense that you know it all, and you figure out where your direction is going, and then you're buying stuff, and you turn 16 and you get your car, and then things kind of start to shift, and your priorities start to shift. And some young people actually wind up becoming a slave to that car because they get a car loan and a car payment, and then they got to have a job to make enough money to cover the car payment and the full ride insurance because they got a loan for the car, and all the gas and everything else. And that can kind of be an interesting place where people get stuck. And then you graduate and you're 18, 19 years old and you're looking for colleges. You get off to college and then you kind of start to settle into who you think you are. And then you graduate and you go through this other life shift. And then you get yourself established and you get your career kind of hopefully started, assuming you were able to land something in your field. Otherwise, you're back stuck in retail again for a lot of folks, unfortunately. And what I've noticed is that about the time people start turning 26, 27, 28 years old, you kind of have this much closer to what I would consider a final life shift, where you really kind of figure out who you are. And for folks who get married really early, or maybe right out of college, sometimes that 26, 27, 28-year-old time frame final shift as you really begin to settle into who you are can be very detrimental, especially if you weren't real upfront with each other. But as you go through life and you're moving forward, and even after that age 28, 29, we still kind of evolve and refine, I think is a better word, for who we are and what we're all about. So I'm going to share in this video a little bit where I'm at, where I'm all about right now, 36 years old, and loving life and loving what we're doing. If you followed my Facebook for a while, you'll probably hear some of these themes repeatedly, so this won't be much of a surprise to you, but I want you to use this video as a way to sort of help put on paper, or on a whiteboard, or in a journal, or on a video, who you are and what you're all about. Because when you're clear on who you are and what you're all about and what your mission is in life, everything else becomes simpler. Decisions become simpler. Whether to do or not do something becomes simpler. What to buy and not buy becomes simpler because you have a mission, a direction, a focus. And in businesses, they talk about strategic planning. They talk about knowing our mission and our vision and having these statements and plastering them on the company wall and on the sign outside and all the marketing. They really want you to run, filter every decision through the mission statement of the company or of the nonprofit or whatever it is that you're working for. So we kind of need that personal mission statement for our lives. I'm shooting this down here in my basement in front of our lovely wood stove. I love this thing. It really felt like God told me we needed to get a wood stove, cut down this tree to make room for an addition beginning of last winter season. And I was kind of like, okay, we're going to do it. And this has been one of the neatest things, if nothing else, for my personal meditation, devotion time, prayer time, whatever you want to call it, sitting here reflecting, just allowing my brain to work through all the different stuff, all the different inputs and ideas and things that have come in. Lots of people get great ideas in the shower because of the dopamine release that happens when you're in that relaxed state, and now you're like trying to write ideas down when you're in the shower, right? Sitting in front of the wood stove does that for me, so I figured this was an appropriate place to shoot this video. Going through one-year Bible today. If you're not familiar with this, they take a chapter out of Old Testament, chapter out of New Testament, some Psalms, some Proverbs, and they reorganize the scripture so it's those four pieces by day. So looking at today's, which was December 9th, and you get into Revelations. And this isn't going to be a big theological thing. This is going to tie back into mission and purpose and branding and who you are and what you're all about. But I think this serves as a really good illustration. This is Revelations chapter 1, verse 10 and following. Here we go. It was the Lord's day. I was worshiping in the Spirit. Suddenly I heard behind me a loud voice like a trumpet blast. It said, "Write in a book everything you see, and send it to the 7 churches in the cities of Ephesus, in Philadelphia and Laodicea." Yeah, I love pronouncing names. When I turned to see who was speaking to me, I saw 7 gold lampstands. And standing in the middle of the lampstands was someone like the Son of Man. He was wearing a long robe with a gold sash across his chest. His head and hair were white like wool, as white as snow. His eyes were like flames of fire. His feet were like polished bronze refined in a furnace, and his voice thundered like a mighty ocean wave. He held 7 stars in his right hand. A sharp two-edged sword came from his mouth, and his face was like the sun in all its brilliance. And when I saw him, I fell at his feet as if I were dead. But he laid his right hand on me and said, "Do not be afraid. I am the first and the last. I am the living one. I died, but look, I am forever and ever. And I hold the keys of death and the grave. Write down what you have seen, both the things that are now happening, and the things that will happen. This is the meaning of the mystery of the 7 stars you saw in my right hand and the 7 gold lampstands. The 7 stars are the angels of the 7 churches, and the 7 lampstands are the 7 churches." The thing that struck me when I read this morning was Paul suddenly had, John had this experience. Boom! A voice behind him. Write this down. Tracy and I have had that experience to some extent in one sense or another, that we know why we're here and what we're supposed to be doing and what our mission is on this rock, revolving around the sun, flying through space at 70,000 kilometers an hour. There's a purpose for us being here. I know what it is. You look at people who have these kind of experiences and the wake-up call that it brings them in their life, and it just absolutely changes things for folks. One of the things that we have figured out is that this rock is not our home, that we're here for 60, 70, 80 years, and then we're gone, and we're going to spend eternity in heaven with Christ. Some people don't believe that. It's okay. We do. And that's how we're going to live our lives, believing that that is true, and that that's the direction that we're heading in. And therefore, every decision that we make, we filter through that paradigm. You may have a different paradigm, okay? How does that influence your decisions? For us, we know that we've got 60 to 90, I'm hoping for 125 years, to accomplish whatever it is that we've been set here to accomplish and to do the good work that have been prepared in advance for us to do. So, knowing that this world is not our home influences how we invest our time, influences how we invest our finances and our wealth and that we have been given. If you ever doubt that you're wealthy, just look around at some of the other countries in the world and you'll figure out that we're pretty wealthy. It influences a lot. The neat thing was the next verse in today's section was from Psalms 128, verses 1 through 6. "How joyful are those who fear the Lord and all who follow his ways. You will enjoy the fruit of your labor." How many people do you know who labor and don't enjoy the fruit of it? "How joyful and prosperous you will be. Your wife will be like a fruitful grapevine flourishing within your home. Your children will be like vigorous young olive trees as they sit around your table. That is the Lord's blessing for those who fear them." And I can absolutely claim that verse and say, yes, that is happening in our house, and it's going to continue to happen in our house. May the Lord continue to bless you from Zion. May you see Jerusalem prosper as long as you live. May you live to enjoy your grandchildren, and may Israel have peace. Wow, that sums up a lot of stuff that's been going on in our lives and in the world right now. Man, Psalms 128. And then the Proverbs 29 for today, verse 18. "When people do not accept divine guidance, they run wild, but whoever obeys the law is joyful." So this is how I like to start my day. DailyAudioBible.com has a great resource podcast. There's a app for your phone where you can get it every day. You're driving to work, whatever, pop it in. You get the same scriptures you get reading through the one-year Bible. This one's called God Sightings. It's an NLT version. I really like the NLT for what we do. Why do I share all that? Well, let's get back to branding, mission, focus. So Tracy and I have this overarching. We know that we're not, this world's not our home, that we're leaving, we're going home one day, and everything that we do in this life is really going to impact things in the next for us. So how does that affect how we live? Knowing that piece of information, that's a core value. How does that influence the direction that we head in and how we do things and how we live our life and what we're all about? Well, one of the things that I've figured out because of, call it my upbringing, call it, Dad sharing business stuff with me as a child growing up and what was going on with the office and management decisions and union negotiations and all these different things, teaching business skills, trying to get me to run a lawnmower business from the time I was like 4 or 5, showing me his old logbook from when he was a kid. I now have a logbook from my lawnmower business that I'm showing to our kids. It's all about starting a business for us and being, you know, I love the profession of network marketing and the idea of evangelism, because whether you view it in a religious sense, you know, Jesus started out with 12 guys. He had 3 really faithful. He had 1 who fell off the map, and has absolutely radically changed the world. And what is evangelism? What is outreach at a church? Well, it kind of could very simply be compared to network marketing, but with a spiritual emphasis. When you go to a movie that you like, you share it with people. And that, in a sense, is network marketing, except you don't get paid for it. You get paid in the spiritual sense. It's just the dividends are a little bit different in nature. So I love this idea of networking and helping other people and sharing the things that we're passionate about. So what are Tracy and I passionate about? Branding, right? Let's get back to that, the point on the topic where we're going with this. I'm all about a couple of different things. As you follow my Facebook page, you'll see several themes over and over again. The number one theme presently over the last year or so has been, you need to have your own business. You need to be in business for yourself. You need to have a product, a service, something that you're offering, because a number of different reasons. A, it lets you express your passion. B, the tax benefits of owning a business are tremendous. Why do I care about that? Because I know that the more you can save on life's big expense, according to Jason Hartman, Platinum Property Investor Group, is taxes. The more you can save on that, the more finances and money you have to do the things that you've really been called to do, that you're really passionate about. For Tracy and I, it's working with teenagers. The less money we have to give to the government, because we have a business that allows us to take legal, proper tax deductions and save money on life's big expense, the more resources we have available to do what we've been called to do with teenagers. What's your personal mission? If you could save $1,000 or $2,000 a year on taxes, what would that allow you to then accomplish? So that's one aspect. Focus on, you know, everyone should be an entrepreneur. Everyone should be producing something. We have consumers in the world, and we have producers in the world. And as we become very much a technology-driven industry, we're not producing as much. And if you don't have gross domestic product, if we're not putting something out there, if we're not creating something, then we're consumers. And if we're consumers, to some extent, we're a slave to the people who are producing those things. So I was listening to, I think it was T.D. Jakes this morning, if you're not producing, you're consuming. And if you don't have something that you're producing that you can be proud of, the only thing that you have left to be proud of is what you're consuming. So you put on display all the things that you purchase and all the things that you buy, which, as you go back to Ecclesiastes, is a lot like chasing the wind, and it's meaningless. I would much rather be known for that which I produced, and that the legacy that I left, of the lives that were changed, and those kind of things that we produce, than what we consumed. They had a nice car, they had a nice house, they had this. That doesn't matter. It's all dust. It's what we do for people, it's what we do for God that matters. So I'd rather be a producer. That's my personal feeling, that's my personal bent. Other people feel differently. That's fine. So be a business owner. That's a theme that you're going to hear on my thing. The second theme you're going to hear goes right along with that, hand in hand. What are you called to do? What is your assignment, Dr. Mike Murdock? What is your passion? What was it that you were created to be here to do? Figure out what that is. Discover that. A couple ways you can discover that, and we can have some coaching conversations on this if it would help. I'm going to point you straight to Dr. Mike Murdock's resources on the assignment. He's on YouTube. He's got books. But we can have a conversation about it as well. What is it that you're passionate about? What do you notice? What makes you angry? What do you get excited about? What would you do all day long, even if nobody paid you to do it, assuming your bills were paid? Those are some clues. He's got a list of 100 clues that can help you discover your passion, your assignment, your calling, why you're here on this rock. And as I marry those two things together, what is your assignment, your purpose, your mission, your vision? For Tracy and I, it's working with our group of kids that we feel we've been called to minister to. And how can you turn that into a business? Not that we're making money off of this, but we found other things that allow us to generate income that then allow us to do this. Um, Marry those two things together. So what are you passionate about? How can you start a business? And then you'll hear, a couple other things through my Facebook page, a couple different topics. You know, you'll see me posting pictures and things to show gratitude and appreciation to our public servants and our men and women of the armed forces for all they do to defend our family. Some people call it patriotism. Some people call it gratitude. But I have a deep respect for somebody who goes through what they go through to get trained and then put themselves in harm's way to go ensure that we have the freedoms that we experience in this country, assuming we don't give them all away. Um, so that's a theme that you'll see from time to time. Another theme that you'll see is Tracy and I sticking up for our kids and putting things out there about, parents, especially fathers. Uh, Make sure you do right by your kids. Make sure you're there in their lives. Make sure you're providing for them. Make sure you're emotionally present for them. Um, we've seen so much pain and so much hurt from our kids, especially from those who come from really messy, bitter divorces and the really angry alcoholic parents. Um, those two things, we've seen tremendous damage that that it does to people, and years that it takes sometimes for them to recover and to get back on their feet and on the road to where they wanted to be. Uh, and if I can encourage somebody, if you're going through a divorce, there's a way to do it. There's a way to do it right, where you don't kill your kids in the process, where you don't use your kids as weapons in the process, where you don't put your kids in the middle between you and your spouse and whatever the two of you couldn't agree on. There's a way to do it right and there's a way to do it wrong. And I just encourage people to do it right. If you're going to get divorced, please do it right and don't make your kids the victims in this